Hello, welcome to Just the Dis. My name is Brian, and we talk about Blu-rays here. This is going to be a collection update. I've got the classy new disc box, and it's full of stuff. Let's see if I can pull it all out of here to show you in a single pile what I'm going to be talking about in this video. Okay, I'm going to put most of it back in the box here while I talk about... Alright, let's start with this baby. This is my current obsession. He Came from the Swamp, the films of William Grefe. Or Grefe. This is a really nice Arrow Video set. And my sort of theorem about it is that it's kind of like a continuation of their American Horror Project series. You know, it's for me, the unofficial third entry in that series. It's not all horror, though. So, I mean, there's a reason why it's not actually that. But you're getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 movies and a documentary in this set. I don't know if it'll still be on sale when I post this video, but at the time I'm recording this, it's actually 50% off on Amazon, and well worth $50 to get all that you're getting here. Let me start by busting this stuff out. So, of course, you get a nice sturdy box, which I always appreciate. You get a wonderful booklet, hardcover and everything. I mean, I'm going to do a favorite releases of 2020 or something kind of video at some point, and this is seriously on my list, and it's a late entry. It's a, new to me. I thought it would be fun, but it's actually more fun than I even expected kind of thing. Okay, let's just go through what we've got here. So almost all these are double features. This is Sting of Death and Death Curse of Tartu. I'm not going to remember the years exactly, but these are all region discs. So if you're outside the United States, this set is still friendly to you. But I hadn't really... I mean, I'd kind of seen a few William Grefe films, and I knew especially Sting of Death and Death Curse of Tartu, but I hadn't really seen them until I saw them on these discs. And Sting of Death is an absolute blast. It is very much the William Grefe version of Creature from the Black Lagoon, but it also is kind of like a beach party movie, and it's got a crazy monster, and all his films are very low budget, but they're so charming in their own way that I am completely charmed by the whole package. So Sting of Death, like I said, kind of a Creature from the Black Lagoon thing. Weird creature, but very entertaining, and has one of the best beach party type dance songs in it. This jellyfish song is truly one for the ages, and I need to rip the song itself so that I can play it just at my leisure because it's great. Death Curse of Tartu is kind of like his Raiders of the Lost Ark, obviously well before Raiders of the Lost Ark, but also if Raiders of the Lost Ark was just the beginning jungle sequence, it's kind of like that on a lower budget level. Not as good as Sting of Death, but very entertaining. Let's see, what else have we got here? The Hook Generation and Psychedelic Priest. I got to watch part of the Hook Generation, and that was fun. This guy is really good. You know, it's sort of a drug deal gone bad. You've got some like hippie drug dealer types trying to do a drug deal with some Cuban military folks, and that deal goes south, and then things just keep getting worse. This guy right here is, oh man, I'm not going to remember his name, but I always remember him as one of the he's like the main bad guy mob boss dude in Adventures in Babysitting. And he's like a major part of the William Grefe filmography. Like he's in almost all of these, which is really cool. I love it when a director has a, you know, stock company kind of thing. And this guy is in just about all of them. But I was digging Hook Generation, especially this guy. He's just a great like hippie leader dude. He's just, I don't know. I was into him. But I still need to see Psychedelic Priest, and I need to finish Hook Generation. But I should say all these are like new transfers, and they have commentaries, usually from another disc, not always newly recorded, but they all have new introductions by William Grefe, and those are great. He's like got this great gravelly voice. He's just a guy you can tell has lived a life and really is a unique voice, and I really have totally fallen in love with him based on this box set. I mean, I'd heard of him before, but I hadn't really, you know, immersed myself. But this is a lot of fun. Mako, Jaws of Death. I didn't get to see Naked Zoo yet, but Mako, Jaws of Death. It's like his version of Willard, kind of. I'm not the first one to say that. It's kind of like Willard with sharks, which I think is a super neat idea. But you have, oh man, what's his name? Richard Jekyll is the main dude in Mako, Jaws of Death. And I should say, a few films that aren't included in this set, one of them is I think one of his most successful films is called Stanley. Basically another Willard type story where a guy has sort of control over snakes. In this case, Richard Jekyll sort of has control over sharks. And there's some great stuff with sharks in this where there's one scene in particular where it looks like Richard Jekyll is being attacked by sharks, like real sharks. And there's a little warning at the front of the film where they're actually saying, you know, no cages were used. And it's really cool. I mean, obviously capitalizing a little bit on Jaws, although William Grefe makes a point to say he had this idea and this project in the works before Jaws ever came out. But I had a really good time with Mako, Jaws of Death. And then Whiskey Mountain is basically like his deliverance. So you've got all these like William Grefe versions of other movies, and I'm not saying he's ripping those movies off, although he probably is. This guy in particular, when he shows up in this movie, oh my gosh. But this one is basically, like I said, like a deliverance kind of thing with Christopher George and his girlfriend and another couple trying to go and recover some Confederate muskets in the Whiskey Mountain, you know, backwoods area. They have to go deep into the woods to find this place where all these Confederate muskets are buried that they can then sell, and yeah, things don't go well, as you would expect in a deliverance type movie. And then, of course, you have the documentary, which I haven't gotten a chance to fully dive into. I got a chance to watch part of it. It's called They Came from the Swamp, and it's an exhaustive tour through the dizzying and often dangerous exploitation career of William Grefe, taking in killer sharks, demented jellyfish men, zombified witch doctors, William Shatner, and much more. Speaking of William Shatner, my friend Josh Olson, one of his big complaints about this set is that it does not include William Grefe's film Impulse, which is apparently quite the gem with William Shatner. And so it's not exhaustive in that it doesn't include everything he ever did, but man, oh man, this is just such a blast, this set. I've really been enjoying it a lot, and I really wanted to share it with you guys because it's been such fun. So highly recommended. And since it's coming out at the end of the year, right around Black Friday, I don't know that it's getting the push that it should, because it's great. I mean, if you're into regional horror, if that's kind of something that appeals to you and has a charm for you, this is really solid. All right, so that's that. Next up, I mentioned this briefly at the end of my Warner Archive video, but Tex Avery Screwball Classic Volume 2 tops the first set. This is obviously the second volume in the Tex Avery Screwball Classics collection from Warner Archive. And again, if we're going by the Laserdisc set, the complete Tex Avery. It's still got a few more cartoons in it, meaning if they follow through, we could see 2 or 3 more volumes of these Tex Avery Screwball Classics. But so far, just between the first 2 sets from Warner Archive, I am incredibly impressed. And this one in particular also includes a documentary, which I really liked a lot. I think it's from the late 80s. It is called Tex Avery, King of Cartoons, and it's about 54 minutes or so, and it gives you a full history of animator Tex Avery. And it was great. Like, I didn't have the context for him, and to hear things like he invented Bugs Bunny, he came up with What's Up Doc and Elmer Fudd, and he was just at the ground floor for a lot of the Looney Tunes stuff that we've come to love, means a lot. And, you know, I feel like he's known, certainly, but maybe not given the credit that is fully due him. And this set is really worthwhile. You've got a ton of more shorts here on this one, including, I watched, they have these Of Tomorrow cartoons, like The House of Tomorrow, The Car of Tomorrow, TV of Tomorrow, and Farm of Tomorrow. That's its own section. And it's always interesting to see a projection of the future from the 1960s or whenever, you know what I mean? Like, they're showing the space age House of Tomorrow in a cartoon, and I just love that stuff. I just eat it up. And that's just at the end of this. So this is a fantastic set, and I can't recommend it enough. If you put this set and the first set together, you've got like a mini box set of really great Tex Avery stuff. So I can't recommend this one enough. If you have a fan of cartoons in your life that you want to surprise for Christmas, I say pick up Tex Avery Screwball Classics Volume 1 and 2, and you've really set them up with a wonderful treat. So highly, highly recommended from Warner Archive, this one. Next up, a little stoner comedy. This is from Umbrella Entertainment in Australia. And this is the first release of Half Baked, directed by, I believe, Tamra Davis? Yes, who did Billy Madison, which I think is a stone cold Adam Sandler classic, really. And this is a lot of fun, too, if you're into stoner comedies. You've got Dave Chappelle. Obviously, you have a lot of SNL folks like Jim Breuer. Then you have Harlan Williams, Guillermo Diaz. It's just, I forgot how much fun this one is. You know, it's definitely made for stoners, but it is still got a lot of broad comedy appeal to it. And I'm surprised it's really taken this long to get to Blu-ray. This says Region B, but ultimately it's not. This played fine on my Region A player, so don't be afraid of the Region B locking if you're not region free, although I do always advise folks to think about becoming region free because it really does open things up for you to get more stuff. But Umbrella is a really great label, and I've just started to scratch the surface in terms of how great they are and what they're doing. And I was really excited to just get another movie that's getting a first-time Blu-ray. It's really neat to me that Australia has become the source for a lot of first-time Blu-rays between Umbrella Entertainment and Via Vision/Imprint Entertainment. They're bringing out a ton of stuff that's never been on disc before. Imprint just announced a whole bunch of new titles, and it's very exciting to see what they're doing. But this is definitely worth your time. This ports over... let's see here. Hilarious alternate ending, 10 outrageous deleted scenes. Director's commentary with Tamra Davis, which I really want to listen to, and I never got a chance to listen to on the DVD. But if you're into, broad comedies, stoner comedies, this is kind of a must, really. So definitely worth a pickup from Umbrella. Next, we have a 4K release from Paramount. This is Michael Mann's film Collateral with Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx. And I like this movie a lot, but I liked it even more upon this rewatch. And this 4K looks great. I believe the film was shot digitally. Don't quote me on that because I don't have the technical specs in front of me. But it was really cool looking on 4K. And just a great movie. I mean, if you don't know the plot, I don't want to give away too much, but it's basically like Jamie Foxx is a cab driver who has some big ideas, but he hasn't really acted on them. And then through happenstance, he ends up with a passenger played by Tom Cruise, who is a hitman, basically. He's a killer. And it's one of those weird movies where an everyman is sort of roped into a crazy scenario, but it also has some weird moments of, I don't want to say inspirational things, but Tom Cruise's ideas about life are kind of like very much seize the day, very much do it now, act upon your dreams, don't sit there and, act like things are going to come to you. It's a weird sort of philosophy that he sort of doles out in little tidbits throughout the movie, but he becomes pretty crazy throughout this film, and he's really good in it, and so is Jamie Foxx. And I don't want to say too much more about it, because if you haven't seen it, I just really recommend the movie. I used to think that the ending got too crazy to the point where I was like, okay, I'm out. It's too much. But upon this rewatch, it actually fully worked for me. I felt like the build of the character to the ending, for me at least, works. It's still pretty crazy, but ultimately I think because Tom Cruise is so good and really inhabits this guy, it worked. And it worked, like I said, even better. And so I was really excited to get this 4K from Paramount, and really worthwhile rewatch if you haven't seen it in a long time. So definitely check out this one if you can. Well worth it. Collateral. Okay, then I got one from Kino Lorber, Bodies, Rest, and Motion. This is from 1993, and it is an indie film that I definitely remember seeing on VHS when it came out. I think because I was into indie movies at that time. I was working in a video store, and these actors were fully at the forefront of my mind. Eric Stoltz, because he'd been in Kicking and Screaming, because he was in Pulp Fiction. I mean, he was a big indie guy at that time. And Bridget Fonda, I had a huge crush on, and from Singles and other movies, Tim Roth, Reservoir Dogs, and Phoebe Cates. I mean, she'd been in some 80s movies, but it was interesting to see her in this. But this is a really intriguing character study where you have a bunch of disparate characters thrown together in an interesting situation. Basically, Bridget Fonda is sort of dating Tim Roth, and he bails on her, and then Eric Stoltz shows up in the apartment that she's moving out of to paint the apartment, and they sort of hit it off, and Phoebe Cates is Bridget Fonda's friend, and it's really interesting to me because it reminded me about the indie films from this period and how you often had a character that you just didn't really like that much, that was making choices that you're like, why is this person doing that? That's irritating. And Tim Roth is definitely that character in this movie, but it worked better for me than I remembered, I gotta say. And I guess I just like to see these 90s films like this one showing up on Blu-ray, because I feel like there's a lot of 90s films from this period that somehow got lost in the void of VHS to DVD. Like, they didn't make the jump, and I don't know if it's because they were too new just before DVD came out to make it. I know this did come to DVD, but what I'm saying is I feel like there's a space where some of these 90s films, these indies, didn't make it to Blu-ray, and this is the first Blu-ray release of this film that I'm aware of. And again, this is from 1993, so I do find it intriguing that there's a vacuum that's now being filled where we're getting some of these indies from this period that are showing up on Blu-ray, and it's very nostalgic for me, like I said, because I was working at a video store around this time, and so to see something like this show up where I was like, I don't remember loving that movie, but I'll watch it again, and seeing it again and enjoying it, enjoying all the actors in it. It's just very pleasing to me. This has an audio commentary with the director, Michael Steinberg, and actor-producer Eric Stoltz. I didn't realize he was a producer on this. And writer Roger Hedden. New introduction by Michael Steinberg and new introduction by the screenwriter Roger Hedden. And it also includes, I love it when they do this, a 1985 short film, 13 minutes, written by and directed by Michael Steinberg called Night Watch. So you get a little something extra with this that I haven't had a chance to watch yet. I apologize, but I did watch the movie and I did enjoy it. So if you remember this fondly, I have a feeling you might like it more now. And if you've never seen it, it's definitely worth a look. So Bodies, Rest in Motion from Kino. Next up, we have The Night Porter from Cult Films. This is a UK Region B locked Blu-ray. And this is a new, I want to say this is a new 4K scan, or maybe a 2K scan. I can't remember. No, here we go. This is the definitive version of The Night Porter, sourced from the newest 4K restoration, supervised by the director, Lilanna Cavani. So that's very cool. This is a Criterion movie. This is a movie that came out on DVD from Criterion, but has yet to get a Blu-ray that I know of in the States, or at least a reputable Blu-ray. So this is like a Criterion movie. If you're a Criterion collector, this is definitely something to consider if you're region free. This is a cult movie. This is a weird movie. This is a movie about a woman played by Charlotte Rampling, who ends up at a hotel where one of her Nazi captors, during that period, she's escaped that, obviously, but she runs into this guy played by Dirk Bogarde as the night porter, the night watchman of this hotel that she's staying in. And she has this moment of just terror. Like, oh my God, here's this guy who tortured me and was really creepy and sexually weird with me way back then. And she has a weird relationship with him where they sort of come back together and almost reenact some of that strange Nazi torture stuff. It is a messed up movie. I can't deny that it's incredibly strange. And when you see it, you'll go, okay, I get why this is a cult film. I get why this has a following, a certain following. You know what I mean? It's just, there's not a lot of films like it. And that's really a reason to check it out or not. But as a fan of cult movies in general, which is something I really enjoy, seeing the cinema that is on the fringes, that is like almost no other movie you've ever seen, is a unique experience to me. And so I was curious to get this Blu-ray, and it does look good. And it includes an interview with Lilanna Cavani. I want to say it's about 30 minutes, and also an interview with Charlotte Rampling about that same length. And it is really interesting to hear their thoughts on the film and to hear how Charlotte Rampling was approached by Dirk Bogarde. She had worked with him previously. I can't remember what film, but that he had said that he had come across this new script and that she was the only person that could play this part. And she read the script and she was, I guess, flattered and decided to do it. And like I said, it's really not like any other film you're going to see anytime soon. And it's definitely not like a film that would get made today. So from that point of view, interesting. And they're both great. Dirk Bogarde and her are incredible in this film. And the Lilanna Cavani interview is great. She doesn't speak English, so it's subtitled. And she's talking about all kinds of stuff she remembered from the production. There's one particular scene where Dirk Bogarde has to hit or slap Charlotte Rampling, and apparently like he really did, which is not cool and creepy. And I guess it's part of actors in their process just really getting into the character. And it was unnerving for the director. It was unnerving for Charlotte Rampling. After a couple takes, she had to tell the director, look, I can't do another scene. I can't continue today if we keep doing more takes of this scene, because the director didn't realize that Dirk Bogarde was really striking her. And because from the camera's point of view, it didn't look like it, but it was an intense scene. They're having an intense moment, and I guess he just got caught up. So that's always a weird thing for me when you see an actor in a real situation and you know they're really being affected in the moment by another actor. It's both really powerful, but also almost pulls you out of the movie. But anyway, there's a lot of great stuff to be gleaned from these interviews. And I don't know a ton about Cult Films. I know it's an overseas label, and I need to check out more of their stuff. But I was really curious to check this one out. Like I said, it's a Criterion title. So if you're a Criterion collector, this is kind of like the Blu-ray upgrade that you didn't get from Criterion. Definitely worth your time if you're into fringe cinema. Just a couple more here. This one I picked up from Shout Factory, Glengarry, Glen Ross. This is the new collector's edition, or recent collector's edition of this film, directed by James Foley, of course, written by David Mamet. And man, what a film. I mean, this is just as an all-star game. You know, when I say all-star game, I mean this cast, you know, Al Pacino, Jack Lemmon, Alec Baldwin, Ed Harris, Alan Arkin, Jonathan Pryce, Kevin Spacey, I guess. It is really something. It's about guys selling real estate. And I still quote the Alec Baldwin scenes in this. You know what I mean? Like, he's so good. We're talking about career high performance from Alec Baldwin, who I think is a really good actor. And I think has turned in a lot of great career performances. But when he shows up to motivate these guys selling real estate, I mean, you know the lines. ABC, always be closing. Put the coffee down. You know, I mean, it's really as good as you remember. And this is a new 4K transfer of this from the original camera negative, and it looks fantastic. I have the old Blu-ray. This looks better, you know, so that alone is worth it. But it's got a new conversation with James Foley. It's got a new featurette called God Bless Ricky Roma, where actor Joe Mantegna remembers working with David Mamet. Basically, Joe Mantegna had played the Ricky Roma role, the Al Pacino role, on Broadway, and so he remembers the role, and he remembers not being cast in the film. And it's a really neat interview. It's got some humility to it, and I just really like Joe Mantegna as an actor, and I think that's a neat interview. Then it, of course, has the audio commentary from the previous releases with James Foley, and there's an audio commentary with Jack Lemmon. There's something called ABC, Always Be Closing, and something called Magic Time, a tribute to Jack Lemmon. And it is just as good as you remember. I mean, it's one of the great films of the 1990s for me, and it's, you know, it's a lot of actors, a lot of guys just talking to each other, talking about making sales, and it's just, I don't know, it's so dynamic and so engaging for what it is, for a lot of guys just talking, for a lot of dialogue scenes. It's some of the best stuff that Mamet ever wrote, in my mind. And I feel like this collector's edition, outside of the announcement of that awesome slipcover artwork, slipped under the radar for some people, and I really do feel like Shout Select really nailed it with this one. It could be one of my favorite releases of the year. I was just really kind of taken aback by how much I enjoyed both the transfer, the movie, and the extras, the new stuff and the old stuff they provided. Again, this is Criterion level stuff, and I was really happy with how it came out. So if you haven't seen Glengarry Glen Ross in a while, definitely recommend picking up this new Shout Select Blu-ray. And last but not least, I apologize. I know we talk about Blu-rays, but as far as I know, this one is not on Blu-ray. And I don't know if it's getting a Blu-ray. This came from Kino Lorber. It is a documentary about the rock magazine Cream, which I was unfamiliar with outside of through Almost Famous, where you get to see, you know, Cameron Crowe's sort of interactions with that magazine, and, you know, with I'm trying to think who's the guy that we all remember from that. It is, I'm just looking at all the interviews in here. There's so many great interviews on this. Oh man, I'm totally blanking right now, but I'll get to it in a second. But it's basically the beginnings of the magazine, which started in the late 60s and went through 1989. and it was a smaller magazine that sort of rivaled Rolling Stone, but was much more focused on rock and rock music. And it was a really interesting magazine that unfortunately I never read during its time out. But it is nonetheless fascinating to see how this magazine came about and its place in sort of popular culture of the 1970s and 80s and how it interacted with the rock music scene of that period. It's a magazine that was born out of Detroit and Michigan and the Michigan rock scene. And you have interviews on here with Alice Cooper, Cameron Crowe, Joan Jett, Chad Smith, Michael Stipe, Jeff Daniels shows up, which is great. Gene Simmons, Thurston Moore, Paul Stanley, Kirk Hammett, and archival interviews with Lester Bangs, for God's sake. That's who I was trying to think of. Lester Bangs, who Phil Hoffman plays in Almost Famous, who I wasn't really aware of, honestly, before I saw Almost Famous, but he played him with such, I don't know, character that I was like, who is that guy? What was the real Lester Bangs like? And you get to see some archival interview stuff with Lester Bangs in this. Lester Bangs was a big part of Cream magazine, a big part of the sort of voice of the magazine. And he's really intriguing to see as a real person, and his approach to criticism. I mean, these guys were very irreverent. I mean, they would put out album reviews that were just like literally like no. I can't remember what the album is, but they show one review that's literally that, and that's it. And that was published in the magazine. So they were very rebellious and sort of like, we don't care what you think, and we're not trying to be nice to anybody. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this whole story, the story of Barry Kramer and how he left the magazine to his son when he passed away, and his son is one of the producers on this movie, and his wife was involved in the production of the magazine, and she's in the documentary, and all the, writers a lot of the writers that they had around that time are involved, and it's just a great story of a magazine in that period, and it really was way more enjoyable than I thought it would be. And not that I didn't think it would be good, but you never can tell with a Talking Heads documentary. It could be bland, but so many interesting people, so many passionate people talking about rock music, talking about the Michigan music scene. And I didn't even realize how much came out of that scene in that period. But so I would recommend this. This is on DVD, obviously not on Blu-ray, I don't think, but it's on digital and you can rent it or buy it that way. Maybe even in high def for all I know. But a very worthwhile documentary and one that I very much enjoyed. So that is the last of this collection update. Hopefully there's something in here for you guys to check out. Thank you for watching, as always. Like and subscribe if you could, please. And I will talk to you guys very soon. Bye-bye.